Hey everybody, we're here at Red Rocks Racing Sportsbook. He's Jason, I'm Chucky. This is our guest, one of our hub traders, Sean Mead. He's got a passion for horse racing, and this is exciting for us. I mean, it's time for the Run for the Roses, the most exciting 2 minutes in all of sports, and it's a great weekend. And I think
it's the most exciting 48 hours in all of sports.
Wow.
Between the Kentucky Oaks, the Kentucky Derby, we've got UFC 301, we've got a great boxing event, let alone NBA and NHL playoffs.
Down the stretch they come right now.
Sounds good.
This is horse racing.
Let's try and give the folks some winners, and I know we brought on Sean to talk a little bit education and hopefully guide you through your weekend of Kentucky Derby.
So before we kind of jump into the horses a bit, it's kind of cool. I mean, number one, if you have the app right now, you get race as well. So it's one wallet. You get both race and sports. So not only the Derby, all the Triple Crown races, Breeders' Cup, coming up later in the year, you've got that right at your fingertips. $10,000 Twin Q on Friday for the Oaks. $20,000 Twin Q on Saturday for the Derby. And that's two separate races. You picked horses to finish first and second in both races in either order. And you've got a chance, as my late great friend Brian Blessing used to always say, matchbooks to lumberyards. Matchsticks for a $2 bet. So a $2 bet. So that's kind of a cool thing. And not only that, but I know that a lot of you guys have asked, when are you guys going to give away a T-shirt or do something fun for a Kentucky Derby? Guess what? We brought them back. It's the 150th commemorative T-shirt for the Kentucky Derby. Come into any one of our race and sports books that has the race book, and for a $25 wager on the race or accumulative wagers that day, you can get one of these great T-shirts. They're really a cool T-shirt. As you can see, the black and gold, also the STN Sports logo on there. So again, $25 wager, Derby Day, to get one of these shirts.
You also talked about the Twin Qs. And so the Twin Q, race fans and guys that play the races for us all the time are kind of familiar with the Twin Q. But a $10,000 Twin Q on Friday for the Oaks. And what that is you're actually going to have two races, right. The Kentucky Oaks and a race that's after it. We're probably going to choose a race that's at Churchill. And it's a $2 bet where you're actually picking the Quinella, the horses to run first and second. Doesn't have to be any order. A Quinella actually means that it can run first or second when you pick those horses to another race picking that same Quinella. So it's two horses to two horses. That'll cost you $2. You can throw as many horses in the Twin Quinella as you bet, but the dollar cost is kind of going to go up from there. So
and there's multiple winners though. You do share the pool.
You do spare the pool. So that $10,000 is a $2 bet. You can bet as much as you want on the Twin Q, trying to get as many combinations as horses as possible. Pick the Q in the first race to the second race, you get them both, you're a winner in the Twin Q. And then we have the $20,000 Twin Q on Saturday for the Derby. It'll be a Derby race with something else in there. Still waiting to see the card, still waiting to see the weather before we pick those out. But again, those are really fun wet bets. Those aren't available on the mobile app. Those are you actually have to come into the book or play at the kiosk. So over the counter, kiosk only to play the Twin Q. But as you were talking about earlier, on the mobile app, you can bet the Derby. Obviously in the books, bet the Derby, and on the kiosk, bet the Derby. So lots of different ways to get down on your Derby.
And the future wagering's open now for Saturday, so you can get right on there right now. Get signed up if you're not already signed up, or check it out. But all the full card is open for Saturday. We're ready to go for the Derby here.
Yeah, I'm a little bit biased, but if you can't be at the race, and a lot of us out here can't be at Churchill, what's the best place to be to watch the Kentucky Derby? It's on one of our race and sports books. I mean, you look at the video display in all of our books. I mean, you can literally see the dirt popping up, and you hear the sound of the horses thundering down the stretch, and you're standing there. You might have a $2 bet. The guy next to you might have a $200 bet, but it's the fun of being part of the excitement of Kentucky Derby.
And I tell you what, not only it's like movie theater type screens here for the Derby, but I tell you what, it's also a great people watching event just to come out and be a part of the day. Between all the mid,
there will be a lot of hats out that day.
The women's wearing their hats. We get some crazy guys coming in here in horse outfits. You see guys in crazy jockey shirts.
Be some drink specials that day as well. Some mint juleps in the book.
It's a really fun day to come out and be a part of the book and be in the book.
Forget Churchill, coming out to Red Rock or one of our race and sports books, and I guarantee you'll have a fun time. So let's dive into the race a bit, guys. Sean, so we know that there's 4 horses right now that have 10-1 odds or below. Those are kind of the 4 that are the popular choices a bit. But kind of break down a little bit for us what you're
You want to get right into the Derby,
thinking.
or you want to start with the Oaks?
You can start with the Oaks if you'd like.
Let's go. Let me jump right in the Oaks. So the Oaks, Friday, we're expecting really bad weather at Churchill. It's supposed to rain all day on Friday. Deep field, rain expected. There's a horse I really like, Ways and Means, race, horse 11, really good in the slop, very nice. Where's My Ring, the 3 horse, also really good in the slop. And Just FYI is probably the horse I like the most in the race. 13 horse, that's a 9-2 favorite. It's the second favorite in the race, but I think that's a really good horse to look at. Like Chuck and Jason were talking about, we've got the Twin Q going on Friday night. That's going to be race 11, which is the Oaks, and then race 13 as well. A lot of good horses in that race as well. A good horse with a good price there is horse number 6, Fancy. I think it's 10-1 is a good price, good horse to look at there.
When you talk about Friday, though, you talk about the Oaks, and what is the Oaks? We talk about what is the Kentucky Oaks, and why are they running on a Friday before the Derby? It's the horses that are the fillies or the female horses that are running in those races, and the Oaks is projected to go around 250 on Friday. So again, you're going to want to get in before 250 to take part of kind of Oaks Day. A lot of female horses running on that day, kind of culminating in the Kentucky Oaks on Friday.
Certainly, and we have some other exotic stuff with the double that will be from the Kentucky Oaks and the Kentucky Derby as well as a mixed pick 5 and a pick 3 and a mixed pick 6. Some of those start with the Kentucky Oaks on Friday night, so you want to get involved
all
with
that
those.
stuff is on the app.
Absolutely, yes, certainly. So it should be really exciting. You want to cut right into Saturday?
Yeah, let's jump to the Derby right now. As I mentioned again, 4 horses that are kind of the popular choices right now.
Sure.
The lower odds. Let's talk about those 4 a little bit first, and then we can kind of jump into the rest of the field.
Well, just to list off the 4 horses, I believe Chuck's talking about Fierceness is definitely the favorite at 5-2. We were talking before we came on the air here. That is the horse that is probably the class of the field.
Won the Florida Derby, has won 3 of his last 5 races.
Certainly.
And he won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile last year.
Yes, Breeders' Cup Juvenile last year as well. He is definitely the leader in the clubhouse, I would say. He came in third in the Holy Bull. Breeders' Cup Juvenile came in first Florida Derby, like
Sierra
Chuck said.
Leone, who won the Bluegrass, is in that mix. There's a lot of really talented horses.
Well, you guys named the ones that are under 10 to 1. Fierceness, Sierra Leone,
Catching Freedom,
and then Just a Touch and Forever Young are going to be in that 8 to 10 to 12 to 1 based on where the pari-mutuel gods go off. And we were talking a little bit pre-match, pre-game before we came on the air about Fierceness in the fact that how do you handicap a Kentucky Derby, and what is our recommendation to the guests as to when you look at handicapping a Kentucky Derby, what are you doing? And we talked about that. It's been 5 years since the favorite has won the Kentucky Derby. So we've seen a lot of these big prices and big paydays to be made on a Kentucky Derby. And I think that's what a lot of people are coming out to take these shots and take these bets on, trying to get a little bit of money for a lot of money. Fierceness is by far, I think, as we look at this and we say a favorite has not won the last 5 years, Fierceness is the best horse in this race, and that's why it's 5-2 morning line. The horse has been dominant. John Velasquez on the horse, who's won 3 Kentucky Derbies, so he's got everything kind of going for him. So you got to try and ask yourself, are you going to try and go beat the favorite, or do you want to be on the favorite? And I think most of us, what we're saying, and I think what you'll see a lot of people doing, is trying to go after that payday. We're talking about we talk about 4 horses that are under 10 to 1. That means there's 16 horses that are more than 10 to 1, and obviously that's where we're talking about getting those paydays. So if you want to throw out Fierceness, if you want to throw out Sierra Leone, then you get into this big bulk of group of horses that are around 20 to 1, and who knows where they end up going off 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday. You could see these horses that are listed at 20 to 1. Some of them might be down to 10 to 1 with taking a lot of money, and some of them could be in the 30, 40, 50 to 1 based on how those pari-mutuel pools go. So when you come in and grab your sheet, take a look at that, and then you're going to want to look at where they're at as we go on Saturday. And when we talk about pari-mutuel horse racing, it's a little bit different than sports in that when you bet the Golden Knights minus $1.45, when you place your bet, you're locked in at getting the Knights minus $1.45. When you place your bet on a pari-mutuel horse race, you have to wait until that race goes off to actually get the final odds that you're going to be getting. So these are the projected odds. These are what the pools are expected to get these horses at, but they're going to change, not dramatically, but they're going to change a little bit between now and Saturday on what price you're actually going to get on the horse.
And you really want to kind of do some research and look at some of these horses that are bred to run that distance, and some of their buyer numbers and their speed numbers. I think, based on what we're just talking about now, is that, the top horses probably will be in the mix, but it's not guaranteed at the Derby that one of them comes away in the winner's circle. At least one horse with lower than 10-1 odds has finished in the top 3 each of the last 2 years. But you look at the Derby, and it's known for long shots, guys. Last year, Mage was 15-1 and won the Derby, and in 2022, Rich Strike closed at 30-1 and won the Kentucky Derby. So there's no guarantee, again, when you look at the smaller odds or the popular choices, but that one of those horses is going to be in the winner's circle.
Well, when we talk about post positions and running 20 horses in a race, and that's why you see some of these long shots with the ability to come in more, is that horses find trouble when you're trying to run through 20 horses. The most common horse races we see anywhere from fields from 8 to potentially 12, 13 horses that are running in a race. So these horses are going to experience something that they've never experienced before. Number one, the distance that they have to run is all new to these horses. Number two, they've never run against 20 other horses all at the same time. And so post position becomes very, very important. We talk about Fierceness, who's sitting as your 17th horse in the field out of the 17th post position. Will actually be running out of the 16th gate, with the scratch of the 9 horse, so he'll get to move up to the 16th, which is great news for Fierceness, because the 17 prior to that scratch was over in the Kentucky Derbies.
Right.
The 17 horse had not won since 1930, or in the tracking to 1930, hadn't had any wins from the 17th post position. The other one that's Sierra Leone, who's the second favorite, is going to go off probably in that 3-1 range, running out of the 2 spot. Now, 7 horses have won the Kentucky Derby out of the 2 spot, but a lot of people will shy away from that 2 spot because that's a post position, in the 1 or the 2 that can normally find a lot of trouble.
Right.
And if they don't get out early, they're going to have that whole field come in front of them, and then they're going to have to stay along the rail and find a hole, or they're going to have to come around the whole field. So those early spots, 1, 2, 3, and 4, tend to have a lot of trouble in the race. And so you're looking for that gate break, kind of that 11 and out, 11 to 17 can normally get a clean break and a good run. And so that's why Fierceness, from a post position standpoint, is even more of a favorite than he would be if he got a different post position. But what are some of the other horses? We talked about Fierceness.
I think that we should kind of dive in, just kind of have some fun. I know.
Well, Sean's the expert. Let's let Sean go.
Who do you like and why?
I'm the expert. I gave out a loser last year. I had a loser the year before. We were talking about the first pole position. I believe we both had Mo Donegal 2 years ago on the rail. Didn't work out for either of us. And last year I had German Sotogake, was the 17, ended up having a scratch down to the 16, ended up starting from there, but still didn't get there. Came close. He hit 5th, but didn't hit the board for me. We were talking about Sierra Leone. We were talking about Fierceness. A horse I'm really involved with and very interested in is Catching Freedom. I think Catching Freedom's got Fabian Pratt on there. He has hit the top 3 slots in 5 of his last 6 Derby races. Catching Freedom's a very exciting horse. I think they have a very good chance. They were first in Louisiana Derby over Honor Marie, 3rd in the Risen Star, behind Sierra and Track Phantom, who's also in the race. I'm going to talk about it a little bit. And then it was first in the Smarty Jones over Steele, who's also in the race. I think that's a really good horse to look at.
Catching Freedom specifically, one of our good friends, Eddie Olczyk, who I know will be he's already at Churchill Downs, and he'll be giving his picks out for NBC the week. I know that was a horse that he was really high on heading into the weekend, looking at Catching Freedom, and that's the kind of the morning line 3rd choice sitting out there at 8-1.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think, you want to look for maybe some value too. I mean, I think maybe an upset pick in the field is Honor Marie, who finished in the top 2 in each of his 3 starts at Churchill Downs. So he's one of the horses that does have some experience at Churchill. For me, a long shot is Resilience at 20-1. He comes off a win at the Wood. He finished a solid 4th, as Sean mentioned, in the Rising Star in February, a race that was probably the best prep race out of all the prep races, because you had Sierra Leone, Track Phantom, and Catching Freedom, as Jay just mentioned, finish in the top 3. With Resilience finishing 4th in that race. So you got 4 Derby hopefuls in the top 4 in that race. So for me, it's Resilience and Honor Marie is kind of a little bit of a long shot. And I really like, as a horse with maybe shorter odds, Just a Touch.
Just a touch.
I like him just a touch.
It's a pretty sharp, wise guy horse from some people in the northeast. That really
wise
like
guy
that.
horse.
Absolutely. That horse really ran up at Aqueduct very well. I know that's very popular.
If you looked at my sheet, you'd see 2 stars next to Just a Touch, as that's the horse that I'm kind of really interested in. It's one of the more lightly raced horses. He hasn't raced that many times, kind of a little bit more of an unknown. Again, coming out of that 8 post position, 9 winners in the Kentucky Derby have come out of the 8 or the 8 spot. Something to look at there. I also Honor Marie was one of the horses that I tagged that I'm very interested in. Finished second in the Louisiana Derby behind Catching Freedom. Does have Ben Curtis, who's riding in his first Kentucky Derby. One of the things that I noted was 28 jockeys running in their first Kentucky Derby have actually won the Kentucky Derby. So it's not something to just throw out and say, hey, this jockey's never raced in the Kentucky Derby before, he's not going to have a chance here. No, 28 times that's come true. Just Steele with Asmussen, Curtis on Honor Marie, and Stronghold as well.
Before you leave Honor Marie is trained by a Louisville trainer who has never had a horse in the Kentucky Derby. And now he's got Honor Marie. So
20-1 on Honor Marie. So again, a great value there, or a great price potentially there. Like I said, a little just a touch. 10-1 is one of the horses I'm looking at. And just to finish my kind of two other things that I'm looking at. Number one, I think it's really, really hard to beat Fierceness in this race. I think that he is the best horse in the race. He's going to have to run into trouble, or something dramatic going to happen for somebody to beat him. So I'm really using him in the exotics to try and put him around some of these other higher value horses to go after the exactas and the tries. But I do think Fierceness plays a big role in the race and is very, very tough to beat.
But we've seen the last couple of years, though, we've chatted up favorites, and you've had horses 15-1 or greater win the last 2 years. Again, you've seen a horse the last few years at 10-1 or lower finish in the top three. So, I mean, that's what makes the Kentucky Derby, I think, so special, is that you can look for that horse that everybody thinks is a dominant horse and has the bloodlines and the buyer numbers.
Looks great on paper, looks great in the prep, looks great.
It's still running today.
Yeah.
And then you have a horse that nobody really gives a chance to that wins the race.
Stronghold, Santa Anita Derby winner, is another horse for the first time jockey in the Derby. West Coast fans will be looking for what Stronghold can do. Maybe something creative can happen there. We talk about Forever Young. The Japanese horse coming out of the UA Derby. A lot of talk about this horse, a lot of strength and where it should be. A Japanese horse, a UA Derby winner, has never won the Kentucky Derby. That's another horse that's one of the 10-1s. Going to get heavily bet. I'll be really, really surprised if that horse goes off north of 10-1. I think that's a horse we could see somewhere in the 5 to 6 to 7, 8-1 range in where that horse is going off. Catching Freedom you made mention of, and I know Eddie likes mention. You like. I think that's a horse we're going to see in the lead for a a long time. I think Catching Freedom is going to be our pace setter, our leading horse, the horse that gets out there.
And it's going to be. Will be out there with him as well.
I'm going to tell my Track Phantom story.
There we go.
What we're going to do.
But I couldn't wait.
We couldn't wait. We knew it was coming, right?
Track Phantom's the other one that's going to be out on the lead, and we'll see if a good group of closers can kind of chase those two horses down. And Track Phantom's
What is your Track Phantom story?
So Track Phantom is my. You don't look at a form. You don't. You're simply handicapping based on the names of the horses, or the colors of the horses, or the way they look, or what the color of the jockeys is wearing. So
as many people do.
Saturday is May the 4th, and so there's a lot of Star Wars fans that'll be out there on May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. And so the most
and also with you.
The most Star Wars named horse in the field to me. It's Track Phantom, and if Track Phantom can
I'm pretty sure he had a lot of domestic product before he came up with this whole spiel. Oh, wait a minute, domestic products in the race.
So Track Phantom is my May the 4th be with you handicapping strategy. Star Wars world, we'll see Track Phantom win the Derby.
I like it. I have to say one more thing about my close friend Brian Blessing, is that his wife's name is Marie. Brian was a huge horse fanatic. Always, was a big advocate of everything we did Station Casinos. And, of course, Honor Marie's in this race, too. So I know if Brian was here, he'd be betting right now. Marie, just want to let you know that, give a shout-out to you. Always thinking about you, and miss B tremendously. So what else? What else you got?
We got into Track Phantom. We were talking about Sierra Leone, just a touch. Forever Young, the horse from Japan, like you were saying. No horse that's been shipped from the UAE Derby that raced in that has finished in the top 3. 0 for 19. That's tough. I like Forever Young.
I think it's the atmosphere in here, Sean. It's
sure.
Again, guys, if you haven't experienced it, you're going to have 200 or 300 of your closest friends here, drink specials, as Jay mentioned, people dressed up like horses.
Hold the shirt up again.
Yeah.
Hold the shirt up. Again, Saturday only, $25 wager, Kentucky Derby, free Kentucky, 150th commemorative official Kentucky Derby t-shirt be available to you. for just that $25 jersey wager while supplies last. So get in early Saturday to make sure that you get that shirt. It's been a while. It's been 5 years since we've given out a free T-shirt on a Kentucky Derby day.
Great, the official
And
150.
we got a regular in the room who's watching this show right now, who always watches when we broadcast, and he is going to get the first T-shirt that I'm going to give out when we get off the air. So it's a great T-shirt. It's fun. It's got the STN logo on it. So come on out, have fun on Saturday, and it's going to be a packed house.
It's going to be
a lot of fun. We're excited about giving out the T-shirts again, and I really think the most important piece, guys, is again, it's one wallet. You signed up for sports, and I've heard that from so many guests that I didn't realize that I get the race component as well. It's great because now I was able to play all the Derby prep races. Now you've got the Derby, the Preakness, the Belmont coming up, the Breeders' Cup. It really does make it convenient from a full race and sportsbook standpoint.
Yeah, if you're not already signed up, get in here on Friday. Get in, maybe play the Oaks. Make sure you got your mobile account loaded up. You're ready to go. And Saturday, you can start betting races at home. By the time you get down here, no need to wait in line. You've got your phone right there. You can make the bets right on it. So
come in style too. Show us your Kentucky Derby fashion.
Oh yeah.
Show off your hats and enjoy the day.
Yes. Have a great time. Again, it's the most exciting 2 minutes in all sports. It's a great time. If you haven't got signed up, to get signed up. If you are signed up, again, it's one wallet. And we look forward to seeing you guys here in the weekend. We'll be right back with kind of the rest of the sports, but this is really a fun race weekend, guys.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Sean. Hey everybody, we're back in Red Rocks Racing Sportsbook. He's Jason, I'm Chucky. We had a first segment where we really dove into horse racing. Now we're back to some sports and NBA playoffs. It's been exciting, Jay. I mean, there's been a lot of injuries to key players, but there's some really intriguing series. And one that kind of jumps out to me is the Sixers-Knicks, where the Sixers have kind of battled back. They're down 3-2, but this next game is in Philly, where they're a small favorite.
Yeah, Maxey actually been playing absolutely fantastic. Embiid coming back, showing that he's battled through the injury. Really, Brunson has been the unquestioned star of this series in what he's doing to lead the Knicks. We said this was going to be a battle from the start, that the Sixers didn't really belong way down here. It was the Embiid injury that kind of
they were so hot going into the postseason.
At the bottom of the chart. Otherwise, the Sixers probably would have been the 2 or 3 seed in the East if they had stayed healthy all year long. So this was kind of a mismatch, and from a seeding standpoint, this should be more like a semifinal leading into who's going to be playing Boston from that standpoint. But this is sitting 3-2 with the Knicks. Head back to Philly. If Philly can kind of go steal a game here, or they're actually favored in this game,
they're at home.
So they don't have to go steal it. But this is one of the ones that we are seeing that incredible potential for a Game 7. And really, I thought all of these basketball series where we saw teams go out and take a 3-1 lead, and now everything's kind of coming back and battling back. Milwaukee was able to go pull the upset in Indy, and so now we're seeing that series at 3-2. Dallas goes and wins in LA to make the Mavericks Clippers series 3-2.
But they're at home. Dallas is up 3-2 and at home.
And we have the Magic heading to Cleveland, or Cleveland's heading to back down to Orlando, where the Cavs lead 3-2. So lots of opportunities for these series to get tied up at 3-3, and we see a lot of pivotal game 7s in the NBA.
Yeah, it's been fun so far. I agree with you. Some of these teams got out to those early leads. You thought it might be, 4-1, 4-0, but it's been actually really competitive.
And you brought up the Dallas Clippers series. That one's where we've seen a little bit of the backwards, and obviously the injuries taking their tolls for the Clippers, whether Leonard is in or not. We've seen Harden have absolutely big games, and then we've seen him kind of disappear, and it's the same thing for Westbrook and Paul George. We haven't had a whole lot of competitive games in that series. We're in a competitive series, but we're seeing a lot of blowouts one way or another in a lot of these series. And we've kind of seen that in some of the other games where teams are really not playing tight games. Games are playing true to form, and they're able to hold at home, but they're doing it so in kind of blowout fashions.
Right. Yeah, so the NBA's been interesting. Again, check out the app for all the games.
Lots
all
of props,
live
lots
wagering.
of in-pay wagering.
Right. So now
we do have the other series coming up.
Yep.
To be dismissed, the series that did get over quickly with the T-Wolves wiping out the Suns in a sweep, and then the Nuggets knocking off the Lakers quickly. Those teams are already matched up. They're scheduled to play on Saturday, T-Wolves and Nuggets, where we saw the Nuggets a really predominant favorite in the series. Obviously the top team out of the West to represent the West in the NBA Finals, but we're seeing a lot of T-Wolf money. Obviously Anthony Edwards and the way that the T-Wolves played in that game and dominated the Suns. And strangely enough, the Suns were favored in that series price over the T-Wolves, despite being the 7th seed because of their veteran leadership and the three-headed monster that they were. But man, Minnesota really came to play. And I think there's a lot of people that are fearing, not necessarily fearing, but exciting about what this Minnesota T-Wolves team could do and how they might be able to play against this Nuggets team, which just seems to just find ways to win. And with different guys, and with Jokic on the court, he kind of always looks like he's just going through the motions. But man, what an exceptional player he is. But I think there's a lot of people looking forward to this T-Wolves Nuggets series, in particular T-Wolves fans and T-Wolves backers. And we've seen a lot of money on the T-Wolves to win this series outright over the Nuggets.
Yeah, I think the NBA's been great, and again, great time to get the app for this. Let's talk a little hockey right now. VGK down 3-2, won the first 2 games in Dallas, lost the next 2 games at home, then lost a heartbreaker 3-2 to Dallas. Backs are kind of up against the wall, but they are at home. Not sure who's going to be between the pipes right now, but a must-win game for VGK.
Yeah, and we'll go back, and we saw them kind of steal. Number one, the Dallas Stars, 113 points in the regular season.
Still the number 1 seed.
The second best team behind the Rangers.
Number 1 seed in the West.
The Rangers President's Trophy winner, 114 points. Dallas Stars, 113 points. Best team in the Central, best team in the West. Knights snuck their way into the playoffs, and that's what got them this backdoor matchup. To go and knock off this Dallas team as the 8th seed, essentially, in the West, is a real chore. The Dallas Stars are an absolutely exceptional team. The Knights went in there and stole these first 2 games. They were essentially somewhat outplayed in those first 2 games, despite winning the first 2 games in Dallas. Then we see them come home in Game 3, a game where Logan Thompson is doing cartwheels and standing on his head to end up losing, but a game they probably should have lost more like 7-2 or 8-2 at the end of that game, or should have been down 7-0 at the end of the first period between the opportunities the Stars had. And then somewhat of a lackluster game in Game 4 that Dallas was able to, again,
they lose an overtime game, right?
Look like the better team again there. And then we see the Stars go on the road in Game 5, a pivotal game that you probably saw the telecast show you. The winners of a 2-2 tie Game 5 win 79% of the time when they win that pivotal Game 5. Of course, Dallas comes away with the win. A game the Knights played a little bit better. Somewhat surprisingly, seeing Aiden Hill entered into net with the way Logan Thompson had played. But I think Cassidy had to do something.
Agreed,
he couldn't just watch his team give away 2 games at home. And
don't forget, Hill won the
change.
Cup for him last year.
He changed some stuff around with the defensive pairings. He's changing stuff around on the offensive side. So he's trying to push those magical buttons to get things to happen. And now we go to Game 6. Back in Las Vegas, the Stars are still favored in this game. Again, a very short favorite in this game. So you're going to be getting a plus price on the Golden Knights. I'll give you a hint. It's also going to be the match of the day tomorrow, where you're going to be able to get a 10% bonus on this game when you get on the app. When we've seen this Vegas Knights team put them backs up against the wall, that Golden Knights crowd is going to be really up against it tomorrow. I think we're going to see one of the louder crowds that we've ever seen. We know the type of energy and effort that this Golden Knights team has. They don't want to be closed at home by this Stars team. I'm expecting a big effort, but that being said, they are not the better team on the ice right now. The Stars are the better team. The Stars were expected to be the better team. The Knights are going to have to pull something amazing. We're going to have to see something special out of Eichel, something special out of Marchessault or Stone, because really, Carlson, Stevenson, these guys have been kind of non-existent in the series. And from a defensive standpoint, the Pietrangelo, Martinez, McNabb's played a good series, but they haven't really been. A lot of turnovers, a lot of mistakes on the defensive end.
Bad penalties, too, in the last game.
And putting
really
them on the power play.
And
it'll be interesting to see who goes in net. I expect Logan Thompson will be back in net tomorrow night for the Stars.
You have to remember, Jay, too, that the Knights beat the Stars all 3 games during the regular season. Stars only scored 4 goals in those 3 games. Then the Knights beat them the first 2 games in Dallas. They'd beaten them 5 straight games. And really, if they don't lose that overtime game, I mean, they're up in the series right now. I mean, they're in full control of the series. So really, all you have to really do is win this game. You come back, you win the game in Vegas. It's 3-3. That's what the series was before it started. Best of 7, knowing that if each team holds serve, Game 7 is in Dallas. So anything can happen in that game, but I agree with you. I think you're going to get a spirited crowd in the Fortress. You're going to get a great effort from VGK. I think it will be Thompson between the pipes. All they have to do is win that game. And it's not only a Game 7, but look for a potential viewing party here at Red Rock on Sunday, which we'll make sure that John sends out as well if we do go to a Game 7 in Dallas. We don't know the time yet, but once we do, we'll pass that information on.
Yeah, and if you're not headed to the Fortress T-Mobile on Friday, come out to the books right after the Kentucky Oaks is going.
Make your derby wagers.
Absolutely. The books will be big screens on the nights to watch Game 6. And it's not just a night stars when we talk about the NHL. Another great series is becoming the Bruins-Leafs. Leafs were able to kind of go steal a game without Austin Matthews, get a win without Austin Matthews. So they're finding some confidence. We've got that series at 3-2 headed to Toronto. We've got the Predators Canucks at 3-2, another good series there. We're seeing some of these other ones that are matching up for what's going to be the next series. But I think we're headed to an absolutely fantastic kind of road to the Cup here. Well, and hopefully we're still talking about the Knights when we get through Friday night.
Talk about the road to the Cup, still having Vancouver alive, having Edmonton alive, having Toronto alive. When was the last time a Canadian team won the Stanley Cup? 1993. The Montreal Canadiens beat the LA Kings 4-1. So as passionate as that fan base is, you've got a real shot maybe to get one of the Canadian teams in the Cup this year.
Well, that eastern side of the bracket where obviously the Rangers, Panthers, and Hurricanes are the three teams that have advanced, and we're waiting on the Leafs.
The Bruins or Leafs,
is an absolute juggernaut. Those next
but Canucks or Oilers have a real crazy chance, I think.
The Avalanche are a team that we've talked about the Stars winning the West, and we know we have McKinnon in that Avalanche team sitting there waiting. And you talked about the Edmonton Oilers and what they've got going from an offensive standpoint and knocking out the Kings. And so these are some really good matchups that we're anticipating. And if you don't have your hockey fandom on, now's the kind of time to jump in. And again, on the app, each time you go and look at one of these games, you look at that little button that says plus 249, and what that means is that there's 249 different ways for you to bet this games or props that are available. So that hockey menu is absolutely massive. Get on the app and check out the props within these hockey matchups.
Yeah, but both the NBA offering and the hockey offering is just terrific. Before we leave you two, we'll just touch on what occurred last week, and that was the NFL draft. Wasn't, again, something that we made money on. Unfortunately, it was a losing proposition overall. But just the response to the different draft props that we had up, the overall handle on it, the buzz from you guys was really, really positive. And there's really some interesting picks. I thought Chicago did really well. I thought Green Bay, Pittsburgh had really good drafts. Atlanta maybe a little bit of a Atlanta, a little bit of a head-scratcher maybe, signing Kirk Cousins, that big deal in the offseason, then drafting Michael Penix, number 8. But overall, you had 6 quarterbacks go in the first round, who a lot of teams are hoping these guys are going to be starting this year.
Well, that's where we saw one of the bigger paydays in our draft props was the Atlanta Falcons with their head-scratching quarterback selection in the 8th pick. But the quarterback to be picked first by the Falcons with that 8th selection was 100-1. We did have a guest with a $100 bet on that for a $10,000 winner on the 8th pick. And then the Raiders...
And that's hard to believe because they had just given Kirk Cousins a 4-year, $185 million contract.
The Raiders select Brock Bowers, the tight end out of Georgia, with their 13th selection. The Raiders to take a tight end with their first pick was 60-1. We had a $100 bet at the 60-1 for an easy $6,000. As Bowers wasn't kind of expected, the Raiders were expected to be maybe chasing a quarterback or an offensive lineman.
Right.
The draft, outside of that, not a lot of things that I was super surprised by from obviously the Falcons giving you the head scratcher. You talked about the Packers. I don't even like to mention the Packers, but the fact that the Lions and the Vikings are the two other teams in the division, I think you can really make an argument that
the NFC North is the best.
It's gone from an ugly division to a really, really competitive division. The Packers clearly going to be there. The Lions, with what they're doing and getting the cornerback out from Alabama, and then the Vikings. Obviously, we'll see what J.J. McCarthy can do with who they took with the 10th pick, but they go and steal Dallas Turner with the 17th pick, who is a guy that was expected to be potentially in the top 10, the edge rusher / linebacker.
He replaces Hunter, though, that left.
I like that move from them. And then we saw the Buffalo Bills kind of move out, continue to trade their picks. The Chiefs come up and steal Worthy, the lightning fast wide receiver out of Texas. Right. Bills move back into the second round and go get Keon Coleman to replace their wide receiver losses in Diggs. So we'll see what can happen there. So exciting stuff coming out of the draft.
But with that, you put up some really cool props too. We put up some rookie props.
Yep.
With the quarterbacks, and the wide receivers.
not Penix, but we had Drake May. We got Williams.
Jaden
Daniels. They're
then Harrison Adunia, and Neighbors, the wide receiver.
Their passing yardage, their touchdowns, and then the receivers is their receiving yardage and their touchdown scores as well. And outside of the draft props, we remiss to mention this weekend. Obviously, we talked about the NBA playoffs, the NHL playoffs. Baseball is in full go right now. You guys are having a lot of fun with baseball, picking on particularly the Chicago White Sox, which seems to be an easy cash your ticket by betting against the White Sox on a daily basis. But this weekend is a big fight weekend, both from a UFC 301 standpoint, and then if you're a fan of throwing the gloves and throwing the hands, Canelo Alvarez, Jaime Munguia, two Mexican fighters. Munguia 43-0. 34 knockouts.
Alvarez is about a 5-1 favorite.
5-1 favorite. We're seeing a lot of money on Jaime. Again, we just saw a couple weeks ago where Ryan Garcia,
don't remind me.
as a 7-1 underdog, was able to knock off Devin Haney. So a lot of people cashed on that big dog. So you're chasing the big dog again in boxing here. Again, guy's 43-0, 34 knockouts. I don't think he's fought just a bunch of, we'll call it tomato cans. He's got some quality fights that he's fought there. Canelo Alvarez, clearly the more skilled veteran fighter, but he's going to be close to 34 years old at the time of this fight. And at some point in time, we do see fighters hit a wall in their age. And is this the potential passing of the torch of a great Mexican fighter passing it on to his somewhat younger comrade, and this guy being the next great Mexican fighter? We'll see if that happens. I know Canelo doesn't feel like he's ready to pass that torch. But this is going to be, I think this is going to be a competitive fight. I think Munguia is really going to come out and try and work and press the pace early, and we'll see if counterpuncher Alvarez can kind of match him and find those holes. But I think this is going to be an exciting fight, especially with the fact we got two Mexican fighters.
Cinco de Mayo weekend.
It's going to be a lot of pride. And if you can get out to Boulder Station, they've got a watch party at Boulder Station in the railhead. Take advantage of this watch party to watch these two guys go at it.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun weekend, not just the horse racing weekend, but NBA, NHL playoffs, as Jay mentioned, a lot of baseball going on, and then, of course, boxing as well. So great time to get STN Sports. There's some really cool features from the Bet Builder, the Worry-Free Wager, same-game parlays, the odds boost. Check it all out. A lot of cool stuff, guys. So we're looking forward to jumping back on with you next week. We'll critique the Derby and see who had a winner and who didn't, but it should be a lot of fun. So for Jason, Chucky here at Red Rocks Racing Sportsbook for the Sports Betting Podcast Bookends, powered by STN Sports. Good luck this weekend, and we'll see you guys next week.